This is part 2 of my Portfolio Builder series for catalog design, where I show you step by step how to create the back and front covers for a fictitious high-end office furniture retailer in Adobe Illustrator. In this video, we're going to focus in on the back cover, and you can download all of these high-resolution photos that you're going to need from iStock. I especially appreciate their streamlined search functionality, which allows me to find work by the same photographer or search images by certain keywords such as orange office furniture. Wow. There you go. I get all my premium, royalty-free, high-resolution photos and vectors from iStock. I list all my resources that I use on my resources page on graphicsgrrrl.com. So be sure to check that out right up here or in the link below. In part 1, I show you my process for creating the logo for this company and go over all of the principles of good logo design. So if you haven't checked that video out, be sure to do that right up here or in the link below. Hello, creative. It's your graphics girl of graphicsgrrrl.com. That's graphics with PH and S, girl with no I and 3 R's. And I'm here to help you design your brand. In this video, we're going to focus in on the back cover. So to begin with, I'm going to hit Tab on my keyboard to bring up my toolbars. If I hit H on my keyboard, that'll jump me to the hand tool so that I can pan over, focus in just on this back cover that we're going to create in this tutorial. I'm actually going to bring this into InDesign when I place my artwork. So things such as bleeds, where we would want to extend off the color about 1/4 to at least 1/8 of an inch off the artboard. And you can read more about trim, bleed, and safety on my blog and download this free printable. So for now, I am going to start with creating this overall shape, the black box that you see behind it, just so that we can have a visual reference as we create this unique shape that masks out the photos that we'll be bringing in. Okay, so let's get started. So you're going to come right up here to File, New, or Command or Control N to create a brand new file. So from the top, you'll see some pre-built settings, and we want this file to be for print. This is a print catalog that we can also export out as a PDF if they want to have an e-catalog for their website. In general, print projects should be based on inches if you're in the United States, or any one of the metric units that you can see here. You wouldn't want to create your print project based on pixels, so I'm going to use inches. Doing this creates a file that will be set up in CMYK, or cyan, magenta, yellow, black color modality with a high resolution of 300 ppi. And the width here, I'm going to make 7.5. And the height, I'm going to choose 6. This is a very rectangular layout. It's only slightly longer than it is high. Then you'll just choose Create. First step is we're going to come here to our Layers panel that you can show by coming to Window, Layers. You don't always have to use layers in your designs if you don't want to, but this one will make it easier for me to separate out the background from the rest of the art objects when I export it out to be brought into InDesign. As you might have just noticed, you can resize this so that you can see more or less layers. Next, you can rename this layer 1 to call it background. It's in this background that I'm going to have my black box, so I'm going to go ahead and choose my rectangle tool from my shapes, and I'm going to just click down one time. As I mentioned before, I'm not going to do a bleed or extend it off the artboard because I'm going to do that in InDesign when I bring it in. A bleed is important so that when your printer trims it, there's no areas of white. It has some leeway to hit the edge of your page. This rectangle, we're going to make it 7.5 by 6 and click OK. Now, one thing I could have done before I made this rectangle was to make sure that it was a black fill with no stroke. Just to rewind, if I click down one time and set my parameters, I would have just made sure that my fill was black and stroke was none prior to clicking OK. Now I can use my Align panel that you can show from Window, align. To make sure down here in the lower right hand corner that I'm aligning to the overall artboard, to vertically and horizontally put this object in the dead center of my artboard. By using layers now, I can come to this layer, and to the immediate right of the eye or visibility icon, I can click and choose to lock this layer. Now I cannot edit or move this background regardless of what I do on my other layers. So with that, I'm going to create a brand new layer down here with the new layer icon. And here, I don't know, you could just call it art. Is it a good idea to label your layers? Yes, yes it is. If you don't take the time to label your layers, then you're going to have to play hide and seek with yourself. And that's not really fun at 2 a.m. in the morning when you're working on a project. Just saying. Our next step is to create a circle in the same fashion that we created our rectangle by coming to the shape tool and choosing ellipse. I could click and drag down, holding the shift key to make it a perfect circle, or I can click one time on my artboard. And I can give it a specific dimension. Here, if I choose that the width and the height are 6 inches, why, that's a perfect circle, right? So when I go ahead and click OK, once again, I can use my Align panel to make sure it's vertically and horizontally centered. P.S. If you're using panels all the time, you might want to consider putting them in your overall workspace. You can see how I set up my workspace right up here in this video, or in the link below. So, this circle ends exactly at the height of my page. Next, I'm going to create some lines on here to give myself a certain pattern. I can create either a really small rectangle, or I can use my lines. Once we have these individual shapes, we're going to use some as a fill and others as a mask. So I'll show it with my line segment tool so that I get the opportunity to show you a couple of other features of how you can convert a line into a shape by outlining its path. So lines generally have no fill and a color for the stroke. To the immediate right of the stroke, you can increase this thickness of your line by using the spin dial up here. Or you can come to your stroke panel that you can show by coming to Window, Stroke. So now you can see in your stroke panel the same setting that I had done up there at the top in my options menu is what I see in my panel, 5 point. So I'm just going to go ahead and put that away and create a straight line by holding the shift key down when I click and drag to the right. If I just click and drag to the right without my shift key, my line may not be straight. So I'm just going to choose my move tool right up here to delete that. And when I take a look at it, I think I need to increase the thickness of this stroke. So I can come right back up here and just eyeball it. I'm going to make mine 10 point. Very obvious that I have a line. So I'm going to create one line that goes across here and another line that goes across. And that line is going to be parallel to this line. Now when you try to select a line, sometimes it's difficult because it's very thin. If I show my wire view or outline mode with Command or Control Y, you can see I wasn't even on the line. So that's why it was hard for me to select this small, thin line here. So Command or Control Y to bring it back, or View, Outline, and Preview that you can toggle back and forth in your layout. Now that I have this line selected, if by chance you're selecting the circle and you cannot select that line, go ahead and lock this circle down by Command or Control 2 or Object Lock Selection. Now it's going to be easier for you to grab over. Remember, our background is locked down in its own layer. We just locked this selection of the circle since both of these elements are on their own layer. We're going to need both of these elements on their own layer later, so that's why I didn't make it its own layer. Now with that line selected, go ahead and try to select it with that center point or belly button of the object, like I like to say, by grabbing it right there. And now holding either the Alt or Option key if you're on a PC or Mac and dragging it down. Go ahead and at the last minute before you let go, add your Shift key. So what you're doing here is you're making a copy and then you're adding in the Shift to make it on the same vertical plane. Okay, so we have this line and we have that line. If it's difficult for you to move it, remember you can always use your arrow keys. So now these two lines are parallel. Looking at my go by one more time, you can see that I have two more lines, but these are vertical. So with that, now my settings that I just used for my line are already the default. So when I come back to my line tool and I click down, this time dragging up and then adding in my shift key, it will make it a straight vertical line. And now here, I'm going to just click down, holding in the shift key and dragging down. When I choose my selection tool to click off to deselect, you can see that more or less, this is the design that I used in my layout. I think what I'm going to do is choose both of my vertical lines here and make these two lines centered within my circle and then move them an equal amount to the left and right. So to do that, I have to unlock all by coming to Object, Unlock All. And now I can choose that line and the circle and this line. Again, if it's difficult for you to select your lines, you can always come into Outline or Wire View mode, Command or Control Y. And now, coming back to my line panel, I can make this now centered. And so I'm going to choose this line and I'm going to hit Shift arrow, maybe 5 times. Select this line and the same thing, shift left arrow. And now what I've done here is that I've just moved these from the center point of this circle an equal amount so that both this line and that line are equidistant from the center point of this shape. Just to train your eye, it's these small details that make all the difference in good versus bad design. We are ready to create these individual shapes. So the Pathfinder tool unites and divides different shapes to create other shapes. But did you hear what I said there? It does this with shapes. So we actually have lines. When we were creating these, I said we could have done small rectangles, right? We created these elements with the line tool. So we have to do one extra step here, and that is to convert our lines to shapes. I specifically showed the line tool so that I could incorporate one other tidbit here for you in this tutorial. So go ahead and select all of the lines. If you find it difficult to select lines, you can select everything on this layer and then shift click the circle in the back to deselect that. Okay? Or else you can click on one line, then shift click the next, and the next, and the next. Okay? And you'll come to your object menu at the top and choose Path, Outline, Stroke. And now your lines are now shapes. Want me to prove it? Once again, in outline mode, Command or Control Y, they're no longer thin lines, but rather shapes. It's okay if the shapes overlap. In fact, it's important that you actually do overlap the outer shape so that you're sure to completely break apart this shape. So Command or Control Y to bring it on back to preview mode. Now let's go get our circle. We're going to shift click the circle somewhere in the middle there, you can get it. And now everything is selected. And now our Pathfinder. When you come to the Pathfinder tool, you're going to choose Divide. That's the one all the way at the bottom here on the left. Go ahead and click it a few times, making sure that you have completely divided this shape. And now, click off to deselect. What we want to be left with here are unique individual shapes. When you select it again, it looks like it's still one, right? Well, that's because it automatically groups the individual shapes. So, you're going to need to come to Object, Ungroup. Now, click off to deselect, and last time, click on one of the shapes. Now, you can see that I only have this one shape selected. You'll come to your outline mode, Command or Control Y, and just come over here and delete these extraneous shapes. What we want to be left with, ideally, is that this is a unique shape, is that this, and this are their own unique shapes. This shape, and this shape are going to be used as a mask to fill with a photo, and these two shapes are going to be used as just a color block. We'll begin by creating this mask on this first one, and then once we have the photo, we're going to sample out its color to fill these two with their color block. To create a mask, as I show in this masking video, it's been pretty popular. Feel free to check it out if you haven't already, is to first come to File, Place. I have the images that I've saved for this project right here. I've converted them to CMYK and saved them in the TIFF file format. For more help on what file formats you should use for your print and web layouts, check out the video right up here or in the link below. So this one, I believe, was this first image. You can go ahead and select all of the images. To select non-contiguous items, you can hit Control on a PC or Command on a Mac. Right now I don't need this one. This one's for the front cover that we'll do in the next video. You can choose one and hit Place, or all of these 3 photos that I've listed here to place all at once. And one last step, I'm going to choose to link this artwork with my layout, which means I need to keep these original photos on my hard drive with this layout in order for it to be linked up. Then you hit Place. It puts it in your cursor and you just click down anywhere to place. You can back out with Command or Control minus and then choose to scale these. In the lower right hand corner, you can hold Shift and drag in to bring it in just a little bit. Command or Control plus to zoom in. I'm just going to put them somewhere in the vicinity. I want to have the option of what to show. You can see in my go by here, you can see that the image looks something like this. When I come back to my layout, I no longer can see my shape underneath because I have my photo hanging over it. So when you click down to place your photo, you can go ahead, for now if it's helpful, and keep it so that you can see both the shape and the photo. And it's this shape here that we need to be on top, not behind the photo, in order for the mask to work. Ready? So here, I can see the shape and I can see the photo. I'm going to select the shape and hit Control or Command X or Edit Cut to cut that shape. Next, I'm going to select the photo. So now when I hit Command or Control F or paste in front, it will be on top of that photo. Final step, I'm going to Shift click the photo so both the shape and the photo are selected. And then it's Command or Control 7 to make a mask, or Edit, Clipping Mask, Make. Now that I have that clipping mask, you can still edit the position of this photo. Look, my photo didn't cover my shape. When I placed it, I broke the cardinal rule of making sure that my photo exceeded my shape. So it's right here under the Direct Selection tool that I can select that white arrow to choose just the photo. Now, with Shift and my arrow keys, I can move that photo into place. It's masked, but I still have the ability to completely modify this photo to the extent that I can even still scale it. Here, with my Scale tool, I can come to the lower right-hand corner and hitting Shift to maintain the proportions and not distort the photo, I can scale in that photo. White arrow once again to bring it on over. So I'm just using my arrows here. I don't need Shift. I can tweak it ever so slightly, making sure that my photo still covers the edge of that shape. All right, I'm going to click off to deselect. We have one of our photos laid in. Here I'm going to show you how you can place multiple photos at one time. By doing File, Place, you can choose the other 2 photos and once again ensuring that they are linked, not embedded. When I hit Place, I have 2. You see my cursor says 1 of 2. If I click down over here one time and over here one time, it will place my photos in my layout. Again, these are fairly large, so you could always choose to resize your photos in Photoshop prior to bringing them into Illustrator. For our purposes here, I wanted to show you how you can kind of just do everything in Illustrator. Now, do you see what the problem is? Photos are on top of the shapes. We need the shape to be on top of the photo, remember? So I'm going to select this shape at the bottom. Selecting the photo repositions it like skins on an onion now this ring will be on top when I hit Command or Control F. So that was edit, cut, and then edit, paste in front. I like shortcuts. Shortcuts save you a lot of time, folks. So if you haven't downloaded my Illustrator shortcut sheets, you should do it right now. So now my shape is on top of the photo. And even though I haven't placed my photo exactly where I want it, I could hit Command or Control 7 to create that mask. So now, with my white direct selection tool, I click off to deselect and click right on my photo to select only the photo. I can use my cursor keys to reposition that photo. Now, in general, should you scale up photos in Illustrator? No, you should probably only scale down. But if you have the resolution, sometimes you can get away with it. All right, if you do need to scale up, it is best to do that in Photoshop, because Photoshop is made to do things such as interpolation like that. So next, this shape here needs to be on top. Instead of cut and paste, I'm going to just send this to front. You could choose to right click and choose Arrange, Bring to Front, or my favorite, Command or Control, Shift, Right Bracket to bring it to front. Right? Now, Shift click my photo, Command or Control 7, you're getting the hang of this. White direct selection tool, click off to deselect, select just the photo, bring it on over. Right? Every time you do a design, you can choose with fresh eyes what is working and what's not, right? Even with the same elements, each one of us might have a slightly different layout based on the thickness of your lines, positioning, and also now the color that we're going to choose for our color blocks. You can use the Eyedropper tool not only to select out styles, such as the font from one piece of type to another type, but you can also select out colors from placed images. I have a video on how to steal styles with the Eyedropper tool that you can see below. And so from right here in my photo, with my photo selected now and my Eyedropper tool, I can click anywhere in that photo and look, it puts that orange color in my fill. I can come over here to my Swatches palette that you can show by coming to Window, Swatches. And I can actually add this fill to my swatches. We're clicking that fill color and dragging it into our Swatches panel. Now, with it in my panel, I could select both of these two shapes with Shift click and now change their color. Oh my goodness! I'm thinking this looks pretty much like what we already had. Okay, there. All right. Now let's say I wanted a different color. Let me show you it again if you like. This time I'm going to use blue, right? Because sample out her blue. Here I am going to keep my Eyedropper tool when I click and drag. Now, when you hover over it, it also gives you its CMYK equivalent. So now I could select this shape, make it blue, right? And at the same time, the Eyedropper tool, as before, also works on basic shapes. Just not a lot of people know that they can place the photo in Illustrator and the Eyedropper tool will take it so that you could choose any color. I could have chosen a different lighter blue. Same thing, right? It's wherever you click down in your photo. Okay, I'm going to double click the hand to bring it on back to fit to screen. Put away my swatches there, and voila! We've created a cool geometric shape that we've color blocked and created masks for photos to serve as the back cover of our high-end office furniture catalog in Illustrator. So if you found this video helpful, give it a like, share it with your friends, and please subscribe to my channel. And don't forget, for free marketing, branding, and design resources, head over to graphicsgrrrl.com. That's graphics with PH and S, grrrl with no I and 3 R's. And I'm here to help you design your brand.